Before the opioid epidemic was called an epidemic, small towns in the Midwest started to realize that there was a drug problem reaching into their communities. The breaking point for Jay County, Indiana, happened in the summer of 2014, when a young woman named Briana Batiste went missing.
Brianna was a heroin user. We knew this. The family had explained that she had suffered with addiction for some time.
It can happen to any family. It doesn't matter.
There were some days we worked 24 hours a day, sometimes 48 hours. We was all up, actually physically up working this case.
And hers started just going to parties with friends, is the way I understand it.
While the search for Brianna was underway, many already assumed the worst. Others said it was bound to happen to a drug user like her.
Some people were coming up and saying, well, I don't understand why you're out looking for this person. She's a druggie.
It's just another druggie. There's a history there, or why should I care? Almost exactly 10 years before, there was an incident where a 2-year-old had wandered into a cornfield and got lost in the middle of the night. The community just rose up at like 1 to hunt for this toddler, this innocent child wandering through the cornfield, and found the boy. She'd wandered off in a different way.
Officer Shannon Henry was in charge of the search for Brianna, an effort that came to a tragic end after nearly 3 months of searching.
Brianna disappeared in June of 2014. We found her Labor Day, same year. She overdosed at some point, and someone dropped her body in the woods.
We always hoped that maybe she was somewhere, and had been using a lot of drugs and would come back to us. Just a nightmare to think that she had laid out there all that time while we were searching for her. And she was there, and no one found her. It was really hard.
No one was arrested in connection with Brianna's death. Her family still struggles with the unanswered questions.
Someone knows and could tell us, and it's kind of torments you if you think about it, because we don't know what happened.
I thought there'd be a big weight lifted off my shoulders, and it didn't feel like that. I'd made up my mind that we was probably going to find her deceased when we did find her, but the weight wasn't lifted off my shoulders. It was how do we address this now?
This tragedy inspired one man to do something. After presiding over Brianna's funeral, Pastor Randy Davis established Brianna's Hope in Red Key, a self-help group building a support network for the area, connecting people with health professionals, even if that meant driving them down to Indianapolis for treatment. He was inspired by a writing found in Brianna's personal belongings.
We found it during the time she was missing. Please help me to do the right thing and to show people that I am not a bad person, inside or out.
And help make me, Lord, to get through this disappointment again and show I make mistakes, but who doesn't?
I don't do it to do wrong. I do it because I feel I have no other choice.
I want a better life, Lord. I do.
It was obvious after her disappearance and her death that this community, this area needed help. Most of the folks that we deal with either have inadequate insurance for the kind of help they're seeking or no insurance. Everybody was wanting something, but nobody knew what to do. So I figured even a bad start's better than no start. Do not let a mistake define who you are. We've been able to help over 400 folks get into some sort of treatment, rehab, different forms and different ways, and we're just simply seeing a change.
In rural areas like Jay County, getting the right treatment can be tricky. Area hospitals are struggling to keep up.
In a smaller community, obviously your resources are a little bit more limited than in a more urban area.
In our community, unfortunately, there's a lot of people who need services, and the recruitment of the qualified professionals is quite difficult. There's definitely more of a motivation to live in the more urban communities.
It's an uphill battle, and I think people are realizing it's a little bit more difficult than they thought. One evening this past summer, we had 11 individuals show up in our ER over a period of less than 4 hours, all experiencing an overdose. That puts a dramatic impact on our staff. We only have one physician in our emergency department, and it also came into question, do we have enough of the drug Narcan to help bring these people back out of their overdose? We've since bolstered that supply, and we work with other hospitals in case we have that large event. But this is disaster planning that we hadn't seen before.
Jay County, Indiana is in the top 20 for highest overdose rates per capita in the state. Neighboring counties have similar rates. These numbers are still rising since Brianna's death. Addiction treatment experts recommend regular counseling and in many cases medications such as methadone or buprenorphine, known by the trade name Suboxone. Providers of these treatments are hard to find in rural areas. There are no doctors prescribing the medications in Jay County, and opioid treatment programs, the clinics that offer medications for addiction, are pretty far away. Indiana has been expanding access to opioid treatment programs since 2016, from 14 to now 19 treatment centers in the state. New legislation, if passed, would allow even more.
There's a need for ongoing long-term treatment, not just in a rehab or in a facility, but also outpatient, also perhaps medication, and also support groups. There's a role for everybody in this.
Partnerships between organizations like Brianna's Hope and care providers get more people in the door. Pastor Randy has personally taken people to appointments at treatment centers.
We're there to walk with you as far as you'll let us. We're not going to walk ahead and pull you behind and push you, but we'll walk side by side with you.
After 25 years of preaching, Davis is stepping down from the pulpit in Red Key to focus more on his newest congregation.
I've been battling addiction for 27 years of my life. There's been several times where I woke up on the bathroom floor and don't know how long I lay there, you know. Narcan has saved me. I've overdosed over 9 times probably. I didn't want to live that way anymore. I wanted to get help. It was a life or death situation for me. They paid for me to go to my first part of rehab to get me into Harbor Lights, and I have to say that was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. I thought I would use until I died.
In 10 days, I will be a year and a half clean, 18 months. There's a whole lot that goes into getting clean and staying clean. What people don't realize is when you get clean, you have to stay clean, so you have to work at staying clean. Before I went to jail, there was nothing. I didn't know of anybody saying, hey, you ready to go to a meeting? You know, broadcasting it like it's, you know, a party that I would have went to with drugs. Instead, it's a party with people recovering and food, and, you know, it's great. It's a great time, and if it wasn't for this meeting, I would be dead.
Brianna's family finds comfort in the fact that people are getting help because of her.
She always wanted to help people. I know she would be happy that so many people that she knows and people she didn't know at all are getting help through this group. It would mean a lot to her. If something like this would have been available for her, it could have been different maybe.
To see more videos from this series on the front lines of a drug crisis, follow us on Facebook. Side Effects Public Media is a reporting collaborative led by WFYI in Indianapolis. Our partnership includes KBIA in Columbia, Missouri, St. Louis Public Radio, Illinois Public Media, WOSU in Columbus, Ohio, and WNIN in Evansville, Indiana.